The board did previously meet in closed session under exception C1, C10, and C2. I'd like to call to order the Waukegan Public School Board of Education March 8th, 2022 meeting. If I can have a roll call.
Mr. Riddle?
Present.
Ms. Callahan-Wozniak?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Present.
Ms. Hannah? Ms. Leguizamo?
Present.
Mr. McBride? And President Ewing.
Yes, the board did already vote in order to allow Ms. Hannah to participate remotely as she is away on board business. Mr. McBride was here for closed session but had to leave. So we do have a quorum and we will continue to resume. I'd like a motion to go back into open session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wozniak. All in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. We are back into open session. Have our Pledge of Allegiance, and because I see her and she's going to be doing our presentation, Ms. Cullen, if you be so kind. Yes, you can. Ms. Harris, if you'd be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Did you say me?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My president's report will be brief today. I do want to welcome everybody out for coming to the Board of Education meeting. Appreciate all of those who are watching online. The board did go through closed session. One of the things that when I became board president about 3 years ago now was about starting meetings on time. We've gotten routinely into the bad habit of allowing our meeting start times to slip. And so although we did not get through everything that we needed to get through in closed session, it was important for us to come out here and start as close to 7 p.m. as possible. And then the board will be returning to closed session with no other action items happening after this meeting. It's because we do respect and value your time as a community. I do want to remind the board of our board protocols. You know, we want to make sure that we are respecting each other, hearing from each other, and respecting the community when they come up and they speak. So with that, welcome, and I appreciate you guys coming out to the meeting. First item we have is 7A. It's our special recognition and presentations. And so first up, we have our TRIO Educational Talent Search presentation.
Good evening, Superintendent, Board President Ewing, members of the board, and community. My name is Ashley Cullen-Williams, and I am the manager of TRIO Educational Talent Search, also proud alum of Waukegan High School, class of 2006. Next slide, please. Today I'm here to talk about TRIO Educational Talent Search and the success that we've had over the last 2 decades in the district. We will review the talent search, review our types of services, and also specifically look at the data as far as how we've served Waukegan High School. But first, I would like to introduce my staff. I have a small staff, still under the leadership of Dr. Sanders Funyeh. However, I am the manager. Demontre Hodge is the new specialist for Waukegan High School. Megan Snowden is the specialist for North Chicago Community High School in Zion-Benton. Anna Rodriguez is a TRIO specialist, and we have Shireen Johnson, who is our tutor mentor coordinator for all sites. You'll notice there's an asterisk by my name, Demontre's name, as well as Megan's. That's to signify TRIO alum. So when I went to Waukegan High School under the leadership of Sylvia England and my father, Mr. Cullen, every Saturday they took us to UIC and we took college courses as a part of the Principal Scholars Program. And through that opportunity, I was able to receive a full ride scholarship to Alabama A&M University, in addition to being a Schuler Scholar. Demontre Hodge was one of my students when I was a TRIO specialist for 7 years for Waukegan. So it's a pleasure to say that I have now my mentee on my staff. Megan Snowden was a TRIO scholar at Zion under Dr. Funyeh's leadership. So this is community mentoring community. And so I wanted to make that known because that's a difference for our kids. We're able to go in and say, hey, I've sat there before. For me, I know what it's like when people say, oh, you're from Waukegan. That's cute. I know what that feels like. And so to have a full staff of minorities from underserved communities, it means a lot when you see the success that we've had. Next slide, please. So TRIO is a federally funded grant program that serves first-generation low-income students with financial literacy, college and career resources, STEM exploration, and social-emotional learning. The picture here is actually of middle school students from Juarez, Lewis, as well as Webster, who visited us last summer. Next slide, please. Going on with history, TRIO was created as part of the Higher Education Act of 1965 to assist students in applying to federally funded programs, to assist those students, low-income minorities from underserved communities. And the TRIO name is bridged in 1968 when Upward Bound Talent Search and Student Support Services came together to provide this service. So when you see TRIO's name, there are numerous programs. However, Educational Talent Search is very special because it focuses on high school, middle school, and high school students. So we're preparing to decrease the gap and increase the pipeline to success. Next slide, please. Oh, and the picture is Lagaya. She's actually one of our Waukegan High School graduates from last year. I did not mention, but I was previously a school counselor here in the district as well as MTSS specialist. And so I'm proud to convert some of those skills over into this role and show you a tiered model of college and career resources. Nothing has changed as far as services, but the way it looks differently. So for the last decade, TRIO has always provided universal services where we're able to go into any classroom and do any type of workshop. A TRIO orientation, talk about college applications, college match and fit, financial aid, study skills, you name it, we'll do it. In fact, our tutor mentor coordinator has already put in flyers in every single teacher's mailbox saying we can come in and do workshops. Once we have a completed application, that then moves the students to Tier 2, where you have targeted support. They have access to all field trips, college trips, online tutoring, mentoring, virtual job shadow. Any resource that we have is free to the student once they complete that application. That's Tier 2. With any group of students, you're going to have a small group that just sticks to your hip. That's Tier 3. Those are the students that are with their specialists every single day they're on campus to complete a personal statement, review essays. That students getting one-on-one direct contact consistently, more than 2 contacts per school year. That's Tier 3. So this is just an example of how TRIO has laid out its services and how we can then also support the universal efforts of college and career. Next slide, please. A list of services. So here I have a chart that shows you the types of services we offer: academic advising, help with college admissions, we go on campus visits, spring break tours, financial literacy, we help with the FAFSA. As soon as a scholarship comes, we send to our seniors, but we also share out with our high school site staff. STEM exploration, career, cultural events, social emotional learning, but on the other side, you see the outcomes. So our students receive personal enrichment and educational goals. They have more career choices and options. They know about healthy behaviors. They have awareness of STEM careers. They have values. But for me as a counselor, they walk away from us with self-awareness. They at least know who they are, where they're from, and what they can do. And they also have now a network of people who are there to support them. Next slide, please. So this is specific to Waukegan's data. I provided data from 2017 to the current. So in purple, you will see that's the total number of TRIO scholars that we serve across all of our sites: Waukegan, North Chicago, Zion, and Round Lake. And in the yellow is specific to Waukegan, the number of students that one person serves consistently at all 3 buildings. So if we were to look at 2021, currently right now, we have 357 students in our program. Of that, 118 are male, 239 are female, and then the breakdown goes further as far as to race. I add the breakdown because I'm also a community member, also part of the initiative as far as how do we address the 2%. And so seeing this, I have an ask. Is it possible that we can receive an ad hoc of all the Black and African American students so that we can invite them to a dinner to talk about college and career, so somehow get them enrolled into this program? Because as you see, even with these current numbers, we're kind of ranging around that 20-25%. I'm greedy, I want 50%. And so if there's any way that we can connect to at least provide an option, an opportunity for them to know what we do, I would love to have that. But I want to stay consistent in knowing that we are consistently serving well over 300 students. That's a commitment that we've consistently delivered on. Next slide. And you'll also see in the green is the dollar investment. Again, we are federally funded. So every student that's in the program for that year, that's the dollar amount that we invest, whether it's a college visit, whether it's resources, because again, we provide everything. So when it's whether it's a t-shirt, whether it's ACT prep or SAT prep, IDT tech camps, we're paying for it all. So we're averaging over $500 per student every single year because they're worthy of it. And if we have it, we're gonna get as many kids in the program as possible. Next slide, please. So pivot, connect, and empower. Trio's always had success when it comes to college and career. And then the pandemic hit. And then this was the opportunity for social and emotional learning to now take the priority. And being in this role, I had to pivot. Because there's no way I can put the pressure for the next 4 years onto a student if I haven't taken away the lift of what's happening right now. So I had to connect with my director and say I have to pause because these students need support. So for the last year, in addition to the financial literacy, in addition to the college applications and the scholarships, we took a focus on wellness. How are you doing? Can I help you? And these are some of the activities that we've now incorporated into our program calendars, where we have Wellness Wednesdays, where we have someone coming and doing a sound meditation to calm our students down. We do mindful gardening. There's stimulation labs, which are just science experiments for kids. For some reason, we thought that after elementary school, kids don't want to do science experiments and play, and it's like, no, that's what they want to do, hands-on activities. Think and Paints, similar to the adult name, where we provide a canvas and we provide paint, play some music, and say, express yourself, and then share out. Happiness University, we partner with Community Resources, Holistically Yours, and she talked about what does it mean to be happy? What does that look like? And then our kids then walked away with 3 skills that they know that if they're down and out will make them happy if they engage in it. Art camps, writing workshops, community service learning, connecting students back to where they're from. So even in a virtual setting, Savannah Dream Center provided tools for us to create bags to then drop off at pad shelters. Or our students make no-sew blankets and then we drop them off at the Women's Center. There's different things to get kids connected back to community. That's what we did for the last year. Self-care trainings and last solution squads where there's conversation-based talks. What's going on social media? I saw the brawl on the other day. Are you good? Let's talk about it. Because believe it or not, they have concerns and thoughts. Some of you may not approve of, but hey, we give a space to at least allow them to express it. Next slide, please. So a few pictures. Over the summer, mindful gardening. We also partnered with From Hood to Table with a Gold Digger workshop, which talked about goals, and then the students actually were able to plant herbs that they then monitored over the course of the summer. Next slide. So although you can't hear, I apologize. This is Tay Brown of Foster. She's actually a Zion Benton New Tech student.
Leaning more towards veterinarian, but to have had this opportunity of witnessing my first open heart surgery was just beautiful. I know that this procedure can be very precise and technical, and to see the surgeons multitask and listen to us and answer our questions while still performing this very technical surgery is just amazing to me, to see how talented each individual is. And my dad is currently in school, finishing his last years in PA school, so it's insane to think about. My dad will be in the same position as these surgeons, but I know with enough guidance and patience, he will be just as great as these surgeons that we've seen today in this OR. So this experience was awesome, and I hope to do it again.
So real life surgery via Zoom, and then they actually got to ask questions with the surgeon. You don't get those many opportunities to just speak to a surgeon while they're while they're cutting up. This is something new and innovative, and it's an experience that these students will never forget. They did this while in a pandemic. And that's huge for TRIO. Next slide, please. National Aviation Day. So this was a personal thing for me. My son, who is also a student in the district, he loves aviation, he loves flying, so we always take him out to iFly. So for Aviation Day, I was like, well, I can't be selfish, like let my students do this. And so we took 20 students to iFly for them to experience this assimilation. And then they learned about STEM careers, they learned what it takes to be an aviator and how the different tools they can do if they want to do the Air Force, if they want to go other routes, they can do this. Again, providing access. Next slide, please. Waukegan Media Cosmos. So when we think about STEM exploration, we don't always think about the technical piece when it comes to music. And that's how we communicate, via music production. So last semester, we took Media Cosmos to a studio where they were able to connect with artists, record tracks, and just connect and just vibe out for the day. And we're actually going again on the 24th of this month. Next slide, please. So I had to shout out my graduates, because previously I was a specialist for the 7 years. So we have Aisha Callahan, who just graduated from Alabama A&M University in food science. Next to her is Atia Carter, who also went to Alabama A&M University, graduating in urban planning, which is my degree. We have underneath Atia, Javante Parker, who went to the University of Illinois Springfield. He is now currently a nurse. And we have Kimberly Luna, who also went to the University of Illinois Springfield, who's also a nurse. And I would be remiss to omit your new climate and culture specialist at Brookside. Jasmine Alvarez is also a TRIO alum. So this is proof that TRIO works, that we've built this network and we built this commitment that says, hey, you can do great things, but you gotta pour into yourself and it starts with you. And so I wanted to highlight my graduates, and I promise you I only have 2 more slides. So I wanted to mention our collaborations, because that's huge, because TRIO thrives off of relationship building and connecting. So we connect with the Black Student Union every Monday from 3:30 to 4:30. Media Cosmos, we support them in various ways. We've connected with Jerry Cole in the community for Readjust Your Crown. Savannah Dream Center supports our students with community service learning. Jeff Williams from At the Table supports them with teaching them cooking and gardening. We connect on a consistent basis with the Focus Club at Lewis Middle School with Miss Alice Howell and Miss Latoya Howell. We have connected with WAR's restorative program under Mr. Dupuis. And we are starting to build these relationships with BAM and WOW. I have a meeting with Ms. Fulton tomorrow, because we are talking about wraparound services. If BAM and WOW are handling this piece of it, let TRIO do the college and career so we can connect a whole service. And so we're planning some trips for that now. So it's proof that we're working in different ways, but the work is getting done. And then the last slide is upcoming events. So just a reminder, TRIO is one person serving all these students. So DeMontre is at Washington campus on Mondays and Wednesdays. He's at Brookside campus Tuesdays and Thursdays, and AOEC every other Friday. And for upcoming events, TRIO, we are a part of and partners of the Artist Yancey Spring Break Tour experience. It will be at the Dog Pound on the 25th. We are providing an urban survival class on March 26th, which is going to talk about, in case of an emergency, what are the tools you need? What's the food you need to have in your backpack to survive for the next week? So we have some great community members that are going to be part of that. TRIO Takeover Day, so that's where we're going to have the whole team at Brookside on March 28th, the whole team at Washington on March 29th, and the AOEC on April 1st. Buffalo Grove, we're doing a career day, and on April 29th, we're having our annual Are You Ready for College Day for our seniors. So that's where we're really having those breakout sessions and making sure that they covered everything that they need to cover as far as financial aid, that their questions are answered as far as what social life looks like, and that they feel that they've made the right choice. And make sure if we can do anything over the summertime, then that's what we do. And lastly is a thank you. And if you have questions about Waukegan High School Services, DeMontre Hodge is the person to email at dhodge3. And any questions about the program itself, A. Cullen Williams at clcillinois.edu. I also have the flyer for our summer academy that will run from June 13th through June 30th, and then we'll pick up with a 2-week boot camp in August. So if you know of a high school student or a middle school student that has a post-secondary goal or just needs some extra guidance, please choose TRIO. We have a solid core group of people that are here for the community and that we're able to do the work. So thank you. Are there any questions?
So, not a question, but you forgot a trio alum is the board president who got dragged out to UIC every Saturday, and that's where I got my coffee addiction. So, trying to fit in with the older kids. So we know what you're doing. We appreciate your partnership in the years. As me and I believe when you were a trio specialist working together with Men of Vision over at the high school.
I was with
So-
Mr. Gutman, yes. I was the trio specialist then, and this just shows the work.
Mr. Ewing, could you ask Ms. Cullen if she would send that schedule of events to the board members, please?
Yes, I will. I will share the presentation.
Go ahead, Ms. Leguizamo.
Always got questions. Thank you for providing the numbers of students that you serve in Waukegan High School, 3 campuses. So are you at capacity? Because, so 2021, we have 357. I think 359 is the highest. Like, what's your max capacity that you can?
So and on that slide, I said always recruiting because we're always planning ahead. So for example, right now we're at 357. However, 100 of those students are seniors. So we know in preparation for those graduating seniors, we're going to need to recruit 100 more underclassmen. But you're right, 357 is a solid number. I would say we're always recruiting for future opportunities. So even if we have the application, they'll still have access. We may not necessarily enter them into our system, but we definitely want to have them on our roster so at least someone has eyes on them.
Mm-hmm. And so what can us as a school district or as a school board help to assist, like increasing the numbers, right? So I just want to make sure, can we increase the numbers? Do you
We can
have the-
increase numbers by at least 50 right now as far as to receive services this semester. But again, we are looking to replace those seniors. So we're still looking ahead for 100. 100 is going to be our goal. As far as what can the board do, my ask was the ad hoc report so that we can at least get those students acclimated and introduced to the program as well as the Black Student Union, and really just to continue to share out the program. I think that's kind of when we tend to get lost, especially during a pandemic when everyone's been forced to work in a silo. It's just more along to just continue to have us in the conversation. Unfortunately, when it comes to college and career, there seems to be a tiered system where it's like Schuler's here, then Waukegan to college, then trio. And it's like, that's not realistic. Because when you see the numbers of who we serve, everyone's equal in playing with this role and in doing this work. And it's not a tiered system as far as who's better than not. And I'm saying that as a Schuler alum.
Right, and so
Right, so I think it's more or less keeping us in the conversation as far as, hey, we have this great program and we're in the schools actively every single day.
right, and I think what happens is that some people assume that you have to have great grades, right, and perfect attendance, and a road path to college in order to get into these programs. But is that not necessary? Can you have a less than 2.0
Yes,
GPA?
you can, because the
and you
goal is
guys
that if
can
I
help
get you
to-
with a 2.0, I want to increase that with my tutors and with my academic advisor, and I got a little way with words. I'm going to talk to you, right? And so to answer your question, no, we do not have those rules where you have to have a certain GPA. You have to have a certain credit as far as being a freshman and being a freshman status student. What we do ask, though, is that you have a post-secondary goal. There has to be commitment. Right now, my specialists are literally running around these high schools chasing kids because they may have signed up for one event not knowing that they're stuck with us for life, right? And so all I ask is if you have a goal, if you know you want to do something, then connect with us. Whether it's one event or not, our grant says we have to serve you twice. So you have to have a conversation at least twice with us. And then after that, it's really up to you based on your needs. But listen, look at all of what we have to offer. We should see you more than twice. That's just the reality of it.
And just to be clear, because the reason why I'm asking these questions is so that people can hear it, right?
100%.
Because, so the last one is it only for university and colleges, or is it also for trade schools?
Also for trade schools, also for military. Again, the goal is to see the gap close. So whatever the goal is, as long as you're doing something. My biggest thing was, as a counselor, do you have a plan? You can't cross the stage and say, I might go to my mom's house. Are you sure? Because your mom might have plans for that room. Like, what's your plan? So as long as they might even not have a plan, because I take under full understanding that an 8th grader is not going to know. And that's why I think it's important for us to talk to the board to encourage the parents. Don't give them a choice. Put them in the program.
Perfect.
Like I
Thank
said, I
you
got
for the
dragged to
clarification.
UIC every Saturday, whether I wanted to go or not.
Miss England did not give me a choice either. In fact, dragged my father. So now he's the one taking everybody on Saturdays, right? So like this is how the community works.
And sometime that bus pulled up at the house.
Yes. At least you got a meal. At least you got a meal. But I think that also speaks to the demographic that we serve. And we're not choosy. First generation students, we got to go after them. We got to drag you because you don't know what's out there. I didn't know what was out in Principal's College. If you would have told me I was going to Alabama, I would have said you were crazy. I'm going to Loyola because I'm a suburban girl that wants the city life. What do you mean? But I went to Alabama A&M for free, so it was good. So I think those are the opportunities that TRIO offers. And so if anything, as a Waukegan alum, I want to give as many opportunities as possible. So just getting the word out there more frequently is what we ask.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because there is, sometimes, and some people know this, I sometimes monitor the YouTube page to see what, people are saying out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there are parents that are just kind of wondering, do you normally send out communications directly to parents, or is there some way that they can get added onto your list directly to make sure that they're getting that?
So once they complete the application, then yes, they're in our database, and then I send out emails literally daily of all of our events. But that application is what connects them to us. So if they're interested, by all means, send me an email or send Demontre an email to get the application. But then once they're in our system, again, they're stuck with us, and I'm sending emails every single week.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Board President, those are all my questions.
Any other?
I wanted to give an affirmation. Well, first I wanted to say, you got to meet Ashley halfway. That's all it takes for our students, for our staff. Meet the people who are trying to make a path for the kids, for all of our students. Meet them halfway, and they'll do the rest. But I want to affirm the work that TRIO is doing, Ashley is doing, and her team, because I think a lot of times that, exactly what you said happens, that we work in silos or we undermine the work of other organizations. And it's like, if we all have a role and recognize the role that we're playing and have the same mission at the end of it, we can only get stronger together. And that's the mission that we're all trying to strive for. We're all, in good faith working so that the students have somewhere to go to and to make a plan for themselves of where they want to get to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you for presenting, and again, so we have the ask. We'll talk to the superintendent. Someone will be reaching out, or Ms. Fulton's right there, so if we can plan that night. All right, so next up on our agenda, we have our opportunity for public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to address the board. Each speaker gets 3 minutes. If you need translation services will be provided for you, and you get 6 minutes. We do ask that you refrain from mentioning staff name or student names at the microphone. When I call your name, please walk up to the mic. In between, we ask that you wait for it to be sanitized. Masks are now optional, but we do want to keep that practice in place for now. First name on the list is Clyde McLemore.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. As we all aware of Mr. Martell Williams' situation, for those that don't know, Mr. Williams was arrested February 16th at Brookside High School. He was coerced in a confession and placed 2 days in juvenile and charged with attempted murder. I ask each and every one of y'all to imagine the impact this experience did to a 15-year-old mind. Can you imagine sitting away from home charged for attempted murder while you was at school playing basketball game? I'm talking about a 15-year-old child. At the time, he's trying to tell them he wasn't there and nobody believed him. Now, we all know the Waukegan police didn't do their job as to a thorough investigation. And last night, the chief announced that Waukegan police will no longer arrest a child from the school. If a child commit a crime outside the school, they're going to wait until the school is out to arrest the child. That leaves a scar with this child's mind, meaning his trust for police went from here to here. As I stand here, it's a blessing he wasn't hurt or even killed. black children been killed for even less. When a parent sends a child to school, the school becomes a parent. The parent is a guardian, someone who protects the child. The school failed Martell Williams on February the 16th. The place where the parents sent him trusting that they would protect their son. The school just handed Martell over without calling a guardian or anything. This violates of school policy. Each year, each high school gives their student a policy book or a school handbook, whatever you call it, and when a student violates a rule, he's suspended or expelled or for breaking the school policy. So I asked the board why someone in the Brookside High School haven't had no consequences concerning Mr. Martell Williams. On another note, I just wanted to leave that on your mind. On another note, I was sent some pictures that was given to the breakfast that they had for the honor roll students. And this was what their breakfast looked like. You take one, I took a couple copies of it. The school district get a lot of money. And this is what they feed our children, and they call it an honor roll breakfast. You know, I grew up during the Black Panther days, and that was something that they fought for, was free breakfast, because breakfast is one of the most important.
Thank you, Mr. McLemore. If we can get the microphone sanitized. Thank you, sir. And Mr. Vukovic. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Vukovic, your time will start.
Thank you. Ashley, congratulations. What a wonderful program. What a wonderful job. I know Jerry would be proud. First thing I'd like to address is item 21B on your agenda tonight, and congratulate you once again for following the law, something that you hadn't been doing for a while, but you are giving a FOIA report now on a monthly basis. And I did look through it, and I saw there were 38 requests this month, and I wasn't one of them. I didn't FOIA anything this month. But I did notice that 12 of them were of the same content. So you got people out there looking to see how much insurance you all have and that kind of stuff there. But you might want to consider, and I brought this up before, when you have these items like that, your FOIAs should be available publicly, so people don't have to keep FOIAing. 3 months from now, somebody else is going to FOIA the same thing, and it's taking people's time. They could go to a directory and look and see, oh, what I want to know has already been FOIA'd. Something that you should consider. Same thing like you have your teachers and custodians contracts on there. You should have the superintendent's contract. You should have the lawyer's contract. Everybody that has a contract with the district like that, it is public information. The public shouldn't have to ask for it every time. It should just be on there, and it would save staff time. You have another item here that'll, you guys are going to approve it. It's in your consent agenda. There's about $31,000 being spent on conference and travel, and you all can defend it, but you got to look at, you're taking people out, high-level administrators. Right now, you got problems at the high school on a daily basis. It's all over social media. There are problems there. You got some problems in your middle schools. The students of Waukegan deserve better. Their parents deserve better. The neighbors around the schools deserve better. And the taxpayers of this community deserve better. Don't go sending people out to San Diego and other places like that until you get those problems taken care of. Have them attend a conference in this building on Zoom, and then at dismissal time, get over to the high school and help the administrators and the teachers out there. Because the teaching staff, they don't have that opportunity to go to conferences. They have to be in there teaching. So let's let the administrators get over to the high school and get these problems so the taxpayers and the students don't have to deal with this on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vukovic. Next name on the list is Kevin O'Connor.
I'm attorney Kevin O'Connor. I represent Martell and his family. A couple of things that Clyde already said, which is really important for everyone to understand. Our greatest protections in our law are...
And I'm sorry, Mr. O'Connor, can we start the clock, please? And if you continue with your remarks, I apologize, it wasn't running behind you.
I think you did that on purpose. That's okay. No, it's all right. Our greatest protections under our law in our home. That's what our whole Constitution was designed for. The second greatest protections, because outside of the home for our children, is school. That's where they should feel protected. They should feel like they are protected, and their school people, administrators, principals, assistant principals, teachers, act in loco parentis, right? They are, under the school code, as you all know, acting as their parents when they're here. And I would ask each of you that are parents, would you let your child be escorted into a principal's office with police officers there, not knowing that where they're going, told they're under arrest? The child asks the question, does my mom know about this? And the answer to that was, she'll know soon enough. That was the answer he got. He was handcuffed immediately. His phone was taken away. And what happened? His mom wasn't called. What happened? Where did the school do? What did the school do to protect the person under their care? In loco parentis, their parent. As a parent, would you abandon your child if the police officer came to your house and wanted to arrest your child? Or would you ask a question? What are they being charged with? What's going on? Is his parents been notified? Has his guardian been notified? Has somebody? On that list, there's a reason you create an emergency list at school, right? The emergency list says if mom can't be notified, you contact the next person on that list. You contact the next emergency contact. None of those people were contacted. The number supposedly somebody said they tried to contact the mom was a 5-year-old number when he's a freshman in the school. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Something doesn't add up. So what happened? The police whisk him away, and he's being interrogated and falsely confessed. We all know the story, because nobody was there. Nobody was there with him. Why didn't a school member, if my child was going to be taken away to a police station, somebody would have escorted him if I couldn't get a hold of a parent. Somebody would have went with him to at least let him feel protected. He felt nothing. He felt like his school abandoned him. He felt like the police let him down. The police did let him down and abandon him, but basically everybody abandoned him. And until he was groomed for over 2 hours, he spent 17 minutes being questioned by this officer without even being read his rights first. He then spent 2 hours being questioned. Then when he was done and they got a false confession out of him, they said, oh, we're going to call your mom now. And she was there within 10 minutes. How did the police get her there within 10 minutes when the school couldn't find her in 2 hours? Something really went amiss. I appreciate some of the people from your board who've reached out to try and fix this problem. I want to work together with you to fix this problem. This is bad. The police department's already started.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. The next name on the list is Vanina D. Lightfoot. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Lightfoot, your time will start.
Good evening, Ms. Placencia, Mr. Ewing, school board members. My name is Janina Lightfoot. I'm a BEC teacher at John Lewis Middle School. I was very apprehensive about speaking because when I have in the past, my employment has been threatened twice. Today, I'm speaking for the overwhelmed, underpaid staff working with struggling students, having minimal support, resources, and training. For example, I work with behavior students. There's one behavior program in the middle school, in one middle school, one behavior program in one elementary school. The support I received from my department, the new program, was just the old program with the acronym changed. No disrespect to my director, but I wouldn't know if you were standing next to me right now. As for resources, small group learning for struggling students is now the responsibility of regular education teachers. They are required to scaffold, modify, and accommodate without special education training. Staff is burdened and made to feel as if it's our fault students are having a difficult time academically and emotionally. The truth is, you didn't have a plan for us for these extenuating circumstances upon our return to in-person learning, and you're making us the scapegoat. I dare you to connect, adopt a class, teach that one class once per week, so you can feel the frustration that we feel. And you might have a better idea of what to do for students and staff next year. I appreciate Ms. Hannah, who I've seen in my building twice, unannounced, in the middle of the day, interacting with staff and students. She was a witness to this chaos. Your staff is holding up a crumbling wall, and you continue to add more weight every day on us. Eventually, that wall is gonna fall. I have an idea. Do the job at Lincoln Center and allow us to do ours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lightfoot. Next name on the list is Anthony McIntyre.
Good evening, everyone. I am extremely frustrated. I'm really tired of being frustrated. Our high schools are horrible. Mr. O'Connor and Mr. McLemore spoke about the young man, I'll say his name because they did, he's a lawyer, Mr. Martell Williams. Since the incident with Martell, which in itself is bad enough, but since that situation happened, there's been 10, 15 fights over at that school between the two. Things are not getting better. You would think that with something as extreme as that, with all of the media attention that it's received, individuals, staff members would sort of get themselves together. You would think that it would be all hands on deck. You reach out to any and everybody that you think might be able to help and contribute to bettering the situation. That hasn't happened because I've been in communication with too many people in the community that haven't been reached out to. Community organizations, they haven't been reached out to. Clearly, the staff members are not doing the job. I don't know when we get to a point where we treat staff like we treat students. When students get out of line, or you think they're out of line, it's a very swift discipline that goes towards them. Everybody knows about that discipline that goes out to those students. But staff members get extra protections. Whatever somebody wants to do to one of them, you can say that you did it, we'll never know it. But when all is said and done, students are suspended, expelled. When they come back, it's held against them, whatever they just went through. Staff members, on the other hand, it looks like nothing. And y'all are pushing too many people at my office for me to have to fix it. And I'm not a psychiatrist. I cannot deal with trauma the way specialists can. All I can do is try and replace some of what they're missing. And some of these young people, you're never gonna know what they're gonna feel. I'm telling you, God forbid, the trauma that Martell felt leads to him turning into one of these people that equal the statistics. God forbid that happen, right? At what point in time does the district own some responsibility for it? When does that happen? I'm saying to you guys, and I've said it before, the principal and his staff over at Brookside campus need to go. They need to go. I'm not the only one saying this. I'm the only one coming up here and maybe saying it on the microphone. I'm telling you, that person needs to go. Him and his staff need to go. There's a history, there's a pattern of this cat, pardon me, this individual performing as he is. It's not new, and it most definitely is not new to you guys. I digress.
Thank you, Mr. McIntyre. Next name on the list is Kathy Fritsch. Whenever you're ready, Ms. Fritsch, your time will start.
Hi, my name is Kathy Fritsch. I'm a teacher at Brookside campus, and I'm part of the union. We often hear about a school-to-prison pipeline and how zero-tolerance policies criminalize minor infractions of school rules, often leading students of color vulnerable. But there's another school-to-prison pipeline, and it often looks like a lack of accountability, consequence, or appropriate response to behavioral infractions, low behavioral and academic expectations, ineffective instruction due to inadequate classroom management, students engaging in unsafe or egregious behavior that are ignored by adults. Low expectations, low accountability sends a clear message: this behavior is acceptable. This is how you are expected to behave or perform. This isn't my problem. These students don't care anyway. There's no point in trying to change things. This is how they are. Here's what happens as a result of this. Students take on an unrealistic, entitled mentality that they are untouchable or run the school. Teachers struggle with classroom management, and due to this, student achievement does not increase. Those students then get referred to summer school, credit recovery, or special education. Teachers who hold students accountable, have high expectations, and speak out about this toxic culture are silenced, villainized, or fired. Teachers resign from their positions, so there is a constant churn of new teachers. It often seems that the schools are either over-policing the students by providing harsh consequences or doing the opposite by taking a hands-off approach to behavioral accountability. I believe we're doing the latter. As board members, I invite you to find methods that work. Have honest conversations about the impact of the lack of accountability and low expectations of our students. Commit to restorative justice practices and ensure the work is being done. Reflect on how you can get our students, their families, and the larger school community involved in this conversation. Create small learning communities, supply the students with mentors, establish student-initiated plans. As leaders, reflect on if you are fostering an environment where staff feels safe to reflect, ask questions, and dig deeper, or are you only focused on academic data? There is no easy fix for this, but the impact is larger than you realize. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fritsch. Next name on the list is Rayon Edwards. Mr. Edwards, your time will start whenever you're ready.
Good evening, board, superintendent, and board president. We here again. Every other Tuesday there's a meeting, and I often wonder how much do you guys listen or pay attention, because every 2 weeks there's the same thing. That high school principal and every staff that was involved needs to go, and I think all of you know that. We get often, when a kid does something wrong, they are disciplined immediately. There's policy and procedures that you guys have in place, and those policies and procedures were broken. Who's being held accountable? Who? Nobody. A lot of you guys took this board job without having the time that is needed to do the job, which keeps you sitting at those chairs. We don't know you. Relationship building is important. And unfortunately, the teacher walked out, but I would like to say to all of them, I feel for what all of them are going through. But at 12:30 at nighttime, do y'all know what those kids here in their community? Boom, boom, all night. You have to understand where they're from and how they live for you to touch them, for them to hear you, for them to see you. We're not waiting no more. And so I'm looking at each and every last one of y'all. And I say this boldly, and I pop my collar when I say this. Getting 150 parents in a room is easy. With my eyes closed, I can do that. Easy work. You guys know what needs to be done. We elected you guys. We did. You're not there because you want to be. You're there because we want you to be. And so what I'm saying to each and every board member that's sitting there now, it's time for y'all to do something. Something. Our kids respond the way they're talked to. You just got a glimpse of it. We're tired. We're not going to keep coming up here talking. We're not going to keep asking. Have you looked around at our district? All I hear is about infrastructure. Infrastructure. That's going to help the kids. Damn a building if we have no kids in it. And if we keep letting those high schools be like the way that they are, that's exactly what's going to happen. Are you guys going to wait till somebody get physically hurt and then we have to open up the checkbook to spend some money? Is this intentional? Because I'm starting to think it is, because y'all haven't heard nothing nobody said. Zero. 15 years old. What if it was your kid? What would you want? Oh, I guess we wouldn't understand that because most of your kids don't go in our district. So that'd be hard to understand. Do what we elected y'all to do. And so I say to this community today, we got a job. And let's go to the polls.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Change.
Next name on the list is Calvin Mathis. Thank you very much. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Mathis, your time will start.
The last time I was here, I spoke of a egregious situation. And let me read the definition of egregious. Conduct means abuse, abandonment, neglect, or any other conduct that is deplorable, flagrant, or outrageous by any normal standard of conduct. And if you forgot that what that situation was, it was where two Latino security guards came in to break up a fight. They took out the black girl, they left the Latino girl there. That traumatized the whole class, never mind the one they took out, and then subsequently there was a fight afterwards to settle that. That was egregious. And you know what the response I got from right up here, right on this board? You said, these kids have a tombstone mind. That came from up here. Right after I gave you that example, that was the answer that you gave me. And I had to remind myself, sometimes if you don't like the answer, don't ask the question. Took my own advice. I sit down and shut up. I said, wow, that's pretty strong. And then later on, on the virus, the vaccine, you say, some of these kids, they don't have the sense enough to get a vaccine. That came from up there. You said the kids don't have sense enough to get a vaccine. They can't even make their own choice. That's bad. That came from up there. It appears to me that the egregious behavior is not from the students, it's from the adults. That's the problem. The problem is the adults. You guys are voted in to be leaders, to hold people accountable. You're not doing that. No, not nowhere, no how. This situation was bad. That boy was a minute away from doing 10 to 20 years. This can't go unchecked. And I can't believe that we're just going to sit here and let that go by. I know we are. Some of us are. Yeah, that was egregious. And that cannot go unchecked. That boy would have never been heard from again if he didn't play basketball for the school. 10 to 20 years, he would have been gone. And it happens all the time. Wake up. This is racism. Nothing but bare-knuckled racism. Wake up. We can't do this anymore. So I just want to implore everybody to do the right thing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the right thing. This is righteousness versus unrighteousness, and we're doing the right thing.
Thank you, Brother Mathis. Next name on the list is Brother Blanks.
Brother Blanks, Black Abolition Movement for the Mind. First, I would like to say in this month, paying commemoration to women history. Ms. Lightfoot, if anybody should happen to threaten you for your job, please do us a favor and get in touch with us. But speaking up, come talk to us. Come see us. Next, before I get to the issue at hand, when I look at the human resource officer that was at the school, that's a problem when we look at what's going on here. Another thing I want to say is when we look at our human resource office under Mr. Angel Figueroa, we have to start taking the time to look at and paying attention to what's going on in our human resource office when we've had the complaints dealing with what's coming out of that human resource office. Another thing I want to look at, I think it was very insulting to have the police department at a Black History program invited right after we had this issue that took place. So I would like to find out who was responsible for that. I know it was tables there, but I think that's a problem when we look at the police officers at the Black History program shortly after that. That's not a good look. That's a real problem. Those are two things, but to the issue at hand, you've heard the voices here today and the reasons why. 2 weeks ago, we put out a post and we put out a call. So today we're here to make good. We are demanding the resignation of the high school principal, Briner. Don't tell me not to call his name when our children and a young innocent student is plastered all over the publications, and his name is everywhere. So we're here to demand the resignation of Principal Briner. What you have in front of you is a list and the reasons why. If y'all can recall, mob action charges after school resource officer got involved. School resource officer got involved, and our children were hit with the same mob action charges as the adults who came to the school to do harm to them. That's a problem. Over 25 of our students were sent home on out-of-school suspension within the first 2 weeks of high school, within the first 2 weeks of this year, with no work to take home with them. That is a problem. This is all have come from that particular school. Our children being released to the police without the parents being there. So today we're demanding, we're not asking, we're demanding the resignation of that high school principal based on those things and other issues. We'll be seeing you. We'll be talking to you. You have the list. Let's do some good.
Last name on the list today is Mr. Mark Jones.
All right. Okay. Good evening. How you doing, school board? So I'm here to talk about the RCNC HBCU college experience, which is taking place on the 25th of this month. And I'm fortunate that I had the privilege to sit in the back and hear what every speaker before me had to say and articulate it, because to me, it even resonated more powerfully why this is a critical event to have in our community. As Mr. Edwards stated, you know, we have our young African American children who hear gunshots in their neighborhoods every night, and our statistics. And I think this platform on the 25th will give them 5 hours to be out of that environment, to be exposed to Black excellence, to be exposed to upliftment and encouragement from people that look like them, that have been where they are. And I think that's what they need is to be exposed to something different than what they've seen, to know that there is a better way. And I would like to thank the school district for partnering with us on this, as well as TRIO and the excellent Ashley Cullen Williams, who will be doing a segment on mental wellness for our young people, which is critical right now. Ms. Avonda Fulton, who's been a passionate advocate for our young African American students in this district for a very long time, has worked diligently with us as well on this initiative. And this event will be held at the Washington Campus Gymnasium, affectionately known as the Dog Pound. And I would love to pack that house with all of our kids, because now more than ever, they need to be around people. And I want to encourage those of you who are watching who may be HBCU graduates, please come and attend and pour into our young people. They need mentorship. They need to see you. They need to hear from you. They need to be encouraged by you and know that there is a better way. Education is the key. Not only will feed them breakfast in the morning, they'll also have provided lunch via a food truck. Many of our kids have not experienced going to a food truck. It's a kind of a cool experience. So we'll have entertainment. We'll, you know, I like to say sensory overload. It's going to be music. It's going to be a step show. But at the same time, they'll get mental wellness. They'll get financial aid guidance. They'll hear from administrators from HBCUs as well as local universities, because we understand all children can't go to HBCUs, but we want them to go to a college nonetheless. Just providing them the opportunity to be encouraged, inspired, and empowered. Brother Blanks, I love if you came and spoke to those young people as well. I just think that it's important. So if this is the camera, this is the 25th of March. This is the last day of spring break. Get the kids out of the house so they can have fun, be educated, can learn, and hopefully be inspired from 10 to 3. At the Dog Pound, completely free. They'll be given a swag bag. We have giveaways. We're giving out AirPods, iPad minis, everything else to get them in the building and to pour into them. Thank you again, school district, for partnering with us on this, and it's going to be an outstanding event. The deadline is the 18th of March.
Thank you, Supervisor Jones.
Get your kids signed up today.
So this concludes our public comment time. Again, we do listen to all the remarks, appreciate all the remarks, everybody that came up to the microphone. And we thank you. Next up on our list is our consent agenda. The items that are placed on the consent agenda, these are done to expedite our board meetings, which can sometimes be very long, especially if you've come to multiple ones. These are items that should have been previously discussed, non-controversial, and/or non-controversial. Any board member can request that any items be voted on separately for any reason. With that, would anyone like to vote on any of these items separately?
10D.
10D. Outside of that, would anyone like any other items to be voted on separately? If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve consent agendas item 10, A, B, C, and E.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the minutes? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. McBride? Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. Items approved, motions carries, and I just want to read those for the record. 10A, approval to attend Unbounded Standards Institute. 10B, approval to attendance to the National Community Schools and Family Engagement Conference. 10C, attendance at the New Era Superintendent Summit. And E, approval of ceiling replacement following asbestos abatement at Waukegan High School, Washington campus. Now are at item 10D, COVID health and safety policy, second reading.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the amendments to Policy 8002, 2021 COVID Health and Safety as set forth for the second reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Wozniak. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Gonzalez,
No.
Ms. Hannah,
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
and President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. We are now at item 12A, which is personnel items.
It is recommended that the Board of Education accepts the administration's recommendation to approve the appointments and accept the resignations, retirements as found on schedules F974, L921, and G632.
Mr. Riddle, I so move to approve this item.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to say that I think it's time that we start discussing why we are constantly getting the resignations from teachers and staff in our district. It's time for us to have that conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. There are no other questions or comments. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. We do have one administrative appointment.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Ms. Kimber Carmen, who previously served as Specialist Secretary to Social Study Director and Discipline Coordinator at the Welcome Center. She will now serve as the Data and Reporting Facilitator at Lincoln Center at a starting salary of $55,000. Congratulations, Ms. Carmen. Ms. Carmen, are you with us this evening? No. Okay.
All right. Next on the list is our financial reports. So we have 15A, the ratification of first processing of board bills for March 22 and manual check request payments and First Midwest insurance payments for the period of February 16, 2022 through March 1st, 2022.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the first processing of board bills for March 2022 and manual check request payments and First Midwest insurance payment for the period of February 16, 2022 through March 1st, 22. The accounts payable board February 16, 2022 through March 1st, 2022. Payments total $1,170,182.50. The manual check request payments for the period of February 16, 2022 through March 1st, 2022 total $496,768.98. The First Midwest insurance payments for the period of February 16, 2022 through March 1st, 2022 total $0.
Mr. Riddle, I so move that we accept the recommended action.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Second.
Second by Ms. Leguizamo. Any comments or questions on the motion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak,
Yes.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes. Item approved, motion carries. We are now at item 15B, which is the post-issuance compliance report.
Board President, board members, superintendent, community members. Pursuant to my responsibilities as the compliance officer, as set forth in a bond record-keeping policy adopted by the Board of Education of Community Unit School District 60 on the 14th day of June 2011, I have prepared a report reviewing the district's contracts and records to determine whether the tax advantage obligations as defined in the policy comply with the applicable federal tax requirements. In accordance with the proceedings and agreements under which the tax advantage obligations were issued, the district has covenanted generally to take all action necessary to comply with the applicable federal tax rules and regulations related to tax advantage obligations, including covenants necessary to preserve the excludability of an interest on the tax advantage obligations from gross income for federal income taxation purposes. We have on the phone tonight Mr. Kyle Harding, who was instrumental in assisting us with all of our bond debt, as well as Elizabeth Hennessy. I think he's on the call tonight to be able to answer whatever questions the board or the community has in regards to our bonds, of which we have no revenue remaining. Mr. Harding, are you on the phone?
Gwen, yes, I am on and I can hear you. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Associate Superintendent Polk, Mr. President, Superintendent, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight and to appear via phone. The district has issued and has outstanding tax exempt and tax advantage bonds. In order to issue these bonds on a tax exempt basis, pursuant to and in accordance with federal tax law, the district did agree to monitor compliance with certain covenants. Those covenants relate to the investment of the bond proceeds, the use of the facilities that are financed with the bonds, and the preparation and dissemination of certain financial information regarding the district on an annual basis. In accordance with good practice and the district's policies, the district administration periodically reviews its continuing compliance with these covenants. There is no action item for the board tonight. The district administration is simply reporting to the board in accordance with good practice and the policy that it recently conducted a compliance review that yielded no areas of concern with respect to these post-issuance compliance matters.
So, Board President, are there any questions?
Board, are there any questions at this time? Go ahead, Ms. Leguizamo.
Thank you for that information. I just would like a little bit of clarification. Sections B, as in boy, 3A. It is an either or page document there. I'd just like to understand the rating agency of that indicator there in the underline, what that means.
Which page? I'm sorry.
It is section B3. So, sorry, the one on the online doesn't have pages. It's on either document.
This is Kyle Harding with Chapman and Cutler. I can address that. So for each of the 5 series of outstanding bonds, we have prepared a checklist. These are, the checklists are issue specific and assist Gwen and her team with their review. So what we're indicating under section 3 there are which rating agency or agencies have given have rated that specific bond issue. What the rating agencies, they provide the rating at the time the bonds are issued, but as part of that rating process, the district agrees that at the request of the rating agency, the district may need to answer certain questions or provide additional information as long as the bonds are outstanding. So we're just highlighting there that, for example, with respect to the, with respect to the 2017 bonds, that S&P has an outstanding rating with respect to those bonds. It's just for continuing compliance, surveillance reviews by the rating agencies.
Okay, and so let me just go up to the top here. The document that is Limited Tax School Bond Series 2017, It has under their rating, what was it, guaranteed, assured guarantee. And then under the other Series 2016A, it has none. And so just like to understand why those two differences.
Sure. So with respect, the second paragraph 3B there is about bond insurance. So separate and apart from a rating agency providing a rating for your specific bond issue, some of the district's issuance, the district actually purchased insurance. So as a way of increasing the security for the bondholders, it came at a cost, but an analysis was run that the cost of that insurance premium was a net benefit to the district, that it lowered your overall borrowing costs. So what we've highlighted with respect to, for example, the 2017 issue is that not only was that deal rated by S&P, but there is an outstanding insurance policy that was purchased through Assured Guarantee. So similar to S&P, from time to time, Assured Guarantee may reach out to Gwen and her team and ask for certain information, such as, provide us with updated financials or various reports. And we're just highlighting again, so we're able to track which entities may reach out about which specific deals.
Okay, those were all my questions. Thank you. Appreciate that. Board President.
Thank you, Ms. Leguizamo. Are there any questions on this information item? Any questions from the community at this time related to this item?
Thank you,
All
Mayor.
right. Thank you, Mr. Hardy. We appreciate that. Thank you, Ms. Pope. Next up is our committee reports.
Oh, Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question for Ms. Pope.
Ms. Pope's coming back to the microphone. You can ask your question while she walks up, Ms. Hannah. Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
Oh, okay. Ms. Pope, seeing how we are in compliance with all the bonds and so forth, are we looking any time in the future of taking out any more bonds for the school district?
At this time, Ms. Hannah, I'm not aware of that.
So we are, everything that was noted in your report, we're kind of, excuse me, we're kind of up to date with all the bonds, and we're not looking to take out any more capital improvement bonds or anything like that.
At present, Ms. Hannah, I've not been in any discussions where we were pursuing bonds, actively pursuing bonds. I'm not saying that we won't in the future if our funds are not at a level that we could pay for capital improvements from the life safety or any other capital improvements that are deemed necessary by the district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. All right, next up, 16A, we have committee reports.
I'll go ahead and get
Whoever
the
wants
party
to go
started, I guess.
Go ahead, Ms. Leguizamo.
I'll leave a few for you, Ms. Gonzalez. No, I just wanted to let the board know that we'll be starting an equity policy review for student fees. That will be on March 11th, so that's coming up. That'll be our first one to start looking at those policies. There's a few of them there that we have flagged. In addition to that, there's another equity policy committee for transportation. We're going well into our third meeting. That's moving along nicely, and we should be reporting out on that hopefully soon on some recommendations. I'll leave the PTAC information for Ms. Gonzalez.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Little did-
Or,
No, go ahead.
Okay. I have a couple, sorry. So the Equity Advisory Council is going to be meeting tomorrow to review some of the policies that have already been kind of advanced these last couple months. Under the direction of Jennifer Rice de la Sanchez, who was here before, and a lot of staff members, community folks, we were reviewing the graduation requirement policy. So we're gonna kind of share out at the general council tomorrow, and then Ms. Fields is actually gonna be presenting on Tuesday. I really encourage the board to be open to the policy recommendations as we bring forth. I would also be remiss to forget Ms. Vanderbrook. She's been working tirelessly to meet the deadlines because we're sharing out tomorrow and then on Tuesday. So she's been helping do a lot of the write-up and the editing. But my ask of the board is for you guys to be open to the recommendation when it comes forward and to fully understand the equity piece that Ms. Fields is trying to accomplish with the proposals. The other thing too, on Thursday on Wednesday, the PTAC will be meeting at 6 to 7 p.m. and I think Dr. Hillary had also moved the committee meeting for behavior and conduct to be right before then. So from 5 to 6, behavior and conduct, and then at 6 to 7 will be the general PTAC meeting with Eric Christensen and the rest of the team. So a lot to look forward to in terms of meetings and presentations.
Thank you.
I have one too.
Sorry, Mr.
President.
Riddle, and then I'll come to you, Ms. Hannah.
I would just, again, our policy committee is continuing to meet, and we have one of our policies finished right now that's going to be under review. So, as the others are telling us, our committees, each one of us, has been assigned to different committees to review some of our policies. So we're working through those. I think we're getting some good headway, and we appreciate all the work that's being done. As Ms. Gonzalez said, we hope that the board, has a chance once all these policies are done, that they have the opportunity to read through them and see that there's been a lot of work put into those and with an equity focus, a lens. So we would hope that work continues and that we're doing the right thing by moving forward on these policies.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Ms. Hannah?
Yes, the HR Policy Review Committee has met twice, and we're still working on that policy, as well as the Discipline Policy Review Committee. We have met 3 times, and we're still working as well. And one of the things that I have asked is why is there such an urgency to get the policies completed? Because with all the work that's going in on them, they may be stalled at the board level if there's things that are in question. So I don't know what the urgency is that, to get all these policies wrapped up, because it does take time. And, we're just not going to be putting things in the policy just to get it done. And so maybe, I don't know, Mr. President, maybe you could answer that for me as
I could also comment as well.
Kind of take some stress off of the people that are working on the policy review committee.
Yeah, I think the board, wanted to do more policy work. 2, we made it a superintendent's goal, and the superintendent's evaluation is up. So part of that is viewing it through an equity lens, and we wanted to look at a certain amount of policies. So those are the 2 things that are driving the urgency, is the we want to review. That is the equity work. We hired Tasia in order to make sure that we are utilizing equity in all of our decisions, and so the policy work in order to make sure that we're reflecting equity is what's driving that. So I know there was a request to be on the committees. Everybody was really excited about the policy work, and that is really where we should be focusing. And so again, I don't think we should rush it, but we can't indefinitely debate things, right? So it has to come to the board, and then the board would review it and make a decision. And the work of the committee is done once it's presented to the board. The board decides not to move forward or not to adopt the recommendations. That is the will of the board. But I do think we have to move up and give the opportunity for the board to hear what these recommendations are. And as Ms. Gonzalez said, is I think the work that's been done, the conversations that have been had, and the presentations that were presented will make the case for why any changes that are recommended are doing so. And again, I don't necessarily anticipate that all recommendations will be adopted. I also don't necessarily think all policies 100% need to be changed, right? But we do want to go through the process of reviewing with an equity lens. So,
and I think, Mr. President, just as a side note regarding the policies, I've been looking at them, and there's a number of policies that haven't been reviewed and or redone. Some of them date back all the way to 2007 as far as the last review, and I think that we need to be looking at those too.
yeah, I think the way is the 2 or 3 ways that policy can come up for recommendation is that the board or a board member can suggest that we review a certain policy. And also, Ms. Vanderbroek is very adamant about anytime there's a law change that prompts a policy review. So I agree with you, Ms. Hannah. There may be some that are older. Typically, when I've seen those, I haven't had any recommendations, so I haven't brought them forward because the policies were fine. So if you do see some that you think should be reviewed, again, I just ask that you would email Kathy and myself, and then Ms. Vanderbroek's also getting on the microphone.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear, there is a plan that all policies will go through this review process. We identified some priority policies to start with, to kind of see how the design that we had set up work through some of the kinks, but then we will be taking all policies section by section, so that at the end of the day, every policy of the board will have gone through this process.
Yeah, and can I add one final statement?
Yes, Ms. Gonzalez.
I think, what we hear from the community is that we need to be doing more of our piece, right? And the board's piece is that policy work. The way that our policies are written affect the way that our students receive their education. And for me, on the graduation committee, I'm like, how am I expecting our students to succeed when school starts next year if we don't even know what's going to be required of them to graduate? I think that's unfair, and that's that equity piece. We need to get this to our board to decide on it, and if we don't accept it or we want to amend something, then we bring it back to the committee and they could rework it, right? That's how it works. The other thing too that I think is valuable about the policy work is that once one is solidified or it is resolved in some way, whether we choose to pass it or not, we can move on to the next one to be under review. And I know, the policy 6025 that actually affected the students that, people had mentioned today, needs review. And, that's one that we are pivoting toward and trying to look at in the near future after we get some of the ones in the queue resolved. So, it's tedious work, and, I appreciate all the staff members who, right after class, come into the meetings and try to work with the administrators to get this done. I appreciate Ms. Vanderbroek because her team, legal staff, is understaffed as well. But it's important for the students.
Yeah. So again, policy is the domain where the board rests, and so we use the committees in order to make sure that they are involved, and that is what is driving the other decisions in the district. So. Hope that answered the question. Are there any other committee reports? If not, we're going to move on to our student board member report.
So, good evening, everyone. I do not have any new updates. One thing I can mention, however, is despite the fact that the schools went mask optional, I did make a survey of 85 people, and out of those 85 people, 13 said they will stop wearing their masks, and the remaining 72 people will continue wearing masks, which I am like, I'm one of them because I feel safer. But I feel like that is all for tonight, and thank you all.
We appreciate you using surveys to get student voice. I know parents and staff are all probably tired of our surveys, but they are important and they do give us valuable feedback. So sometimes the board is looking for information in order to make decisions. I think even though you keep getting them, and I'm a parent, I probably got 10 in my own email that I need to respond to right now, but we do like that data, and it gives us valuable feedback, and we do use that data to make decisions. So thank
Including
you.
one from the city or the county?
Right now, we can promote it, and I believe our news reporter, Lake County News Sun, did some good reporting on. There is a health survey from the Lake County Health Department, which is going to the community. So I would encourage anybody who is listening to this or in here, if you have not, please do so. It took me about 5 to 8 minutes just to kind of fill it out and answer the questions. But it, again, provides very valuable feedback, so the Lake County Health Department can plan resources and actually understand what things are impacting Lake County citizens. And we want to make sure that Waukegan, as the county seat and the largest city in Lake County, is represented and our needs understood based on that survey. So if you have not done so, please complete it, as well as any of the other district surveys that have gone out as well. Next up is Ms. Hannah. I don't know if you actually have a delegates report.
The only report, Mr. President, is that I attended an awesome webinar through ISB, and it was regarding a new tool for superintendents' evaluations, and this tool will be able to be used for the cabinet members as well, and I think that we need to look at it. It is it's called Super Eval, and as I listened, I said this is something that our school board should use. It is universal in its function. I was really impressed by what I was hearing in terms of how it is a growth evaluation, and for the superintendent and her staff, as well as a growth for the board members as well, in terms of doing an efficient and effective evaluation for our only employees that we have. And I am going to encourage each board member to go into the archives of ISB and look at that webinar. And I'm pretty sure that if you truly take it to heart, you'll be excited about it as well as I am too. It's a tool. They framed it as a fair, unbiased evaluation tool, and I think we need to look at it.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah.
But other than that, there's more webinars that are on the schedule, and just a general reminder to the board members that we get our master board member points by attending these webinars, as well as our two division dinners. So I just encourage board members to go in and look at that stuff.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah.
So
Go ahead,
We
Ms.
have a division
Wozniak.
dinner tomorrow, right? Will you be there, Miss Hannah? No, you're not back yet. Okay.
No, I'm not.
All right. Next up is our superintendent's report.
Good evening, community and all stakeholders. I'm just going to go over a couple of dates that's around that season again, graduations and promotions for 2022. So the Waukegan High School class of 2022 will celebrate in-person graduation. We will have 2 nights at Weisfield. The first night will take place May 19th at 5:30 on a Thursday evening. The second night will be Friday, March 20th at 5:50 p.m. at Weisfield. May. The middle grade promotions are currently being planned for Monday, May 23rd. Surveys are being distributed tomorrow so we can gather more feedback from parents, students, and staff how best to honor our students. Information surrounding the ceremonies will be shared with families very soon.
Can I ask a question, please?
Do you want to hold it, Ms. Hannah, until the end?
Oh, sure.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And as always, we offer weekly voluntary COVID testing for our stakeholders. So please take advantage of this if you deem fit. We're also working on creating a voluntary weekly COVID testing program for students and staff. We're asking for staff and parents to complete surveys so we can gauge the interest of testing at our buildings and make decisions regarding program design. So how many facilities do we need, etc. The survey deadline is March 10th. There's the link. Nick, the link went out is it on the Facebook page last week and in a letter last week? And our district is working with a new testing partner to launch free weekly testing for students and staff beginning late March. And that concludes my report. Ms. Hannah, I think you had a question?
Yes, I do, Superintendent. A couple things. First off, we are, have we decided on how many graduation credits our students have as requirements to graduate? That's number one. And number two is with the graduation for our seniors being on the 19th and the 20th, are they getting the legal number of educational days that is required by state law?
So the graduation policy will be coming for board review. There's a lot of conversations surrounding that, and Ms. Gonzalez sits on that committee. So you should be seeing that in the very near future. I think that's next week. Okay. I believe they're bringing it next week before student achievement. And Dr. Nault, would you like to address the second question, which I believe the answer, and of course the answer is yes, that the seniors will have the amounts of minutes needed for graduation. Am I correct? Thumbs up? Yes. So yes, Ms. Hannah, they will have the amount of minutes needed.
Minutes or days? I know that we have...
Days, minutes, they'll have it all.
And so, are the parents aware of the number of credits that the students are supposed to have? I know that we're not going to give it to them after we have said that we're going to hold graduation, do they know how many credits they have to have?
Our current policy is still in place, Ms. Hannah, so there has been no change to that. The policy for review will come next week, and any changes would have to be voted on by the entire board.
Will definitely not be more. That's
Yeah. So did you hear that, Ms. Hannah?
Yeah, I did, but my question still wasn't answered. The number of credits that students need.
Yeah, so I think the current policy, I don't know, Superintendent, do you know off the top of your head how many credits they need?
22.
22. So currently, today, they need 22 graduation requirements.
We're not
credits
gonna,
to
we're not
graduate.
gonna add like 2 credits next week that they gotta finish before they graduate. It would be for the next school year, the change.
current policy will be in effect for this year, Ms. Hannah, so any policy changes recommended by the committee would not go into effect this year. It needs to be voted on by the board.
Right. So now we were at 17 last year. Was that just a special time?
That was a special time that the board voted on.
Yeah, so they didn't, we approved that. And one of the conditions of the approval, Ms. Hannah, is that you inserted that it would only be for the current school year.
The current year. Okay. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hannah. All right, we are now, and again, so nobody reached out about old business. I know Ms. Leguizamo did reach out about new business, so I'll give you that time right now, Ms. Leguizamo.
Thank you, Board President. So I definitely wanted to start the conversation in regards to policy 6025. And 6025 is reporting suspected criminal conduct and police interviews. That policy was last reviewed and revised on September 11, 2018. There's a section in there in regards to arrests and custody. And I'd like for that whole section either to be reviewed or added onto. And the reason why I say added onto, as many people know in the community, that Interim Chief Zupek of the Waukegan Police Department has stated that effective today, there are at minimum 2 new policies that the Waukegan Police Department has implemented. And I would like our policy to now reference the Waukegan Police Department's policy that is related to. So we'd have to try to see about getting a copy of that. And I'd really like to see about incorporating what it is that they have, looking at it, incorporating what it is that they have into this policy so it will now mesh. And I believe we have never done a police department policy cross-reference in any of our policies. So this will be kind of one of the first times we'll do something like that. So I'd like to have that conversation with the board to see, are you okay with starting to have that conversation, start moving some of that work? And I'd just like to have some sort of concurrence on that before we start directing our administration.
Yeah, so I know that Deputy Moden is in constant communication with the Waukegan Police Department. I want to both commend Interim Chief Zupek as well as our State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt, who have really, along with myself, had conversations about this very thing. We have an intergovernmental meeting coming up this week, actually. And so with board concurrence, I think that would be an easy thing to do for us to collaborate and to use those spaces in order to do so. So I know that they reached out. Obviously, Deputy Dubek made the decision in the policy change recommendations. And so as I would back Ms. Leguizamo and say that we want to review our policy and encourage us to continue those conversations with our state's attorney as well as our interim chief.
And Mr. Ewing, I do have some new under new business. I did not get it to you, unfortunately, sir, because I'm, of course, out of town in class 8 to 4 p.m., 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. So I didn't have a chance to get this to you. But if I may, can I proceed?
After I get the last question, which Ms. Leguizamo is looking for board concurrence. So is there anybody who is opposed to having Kathy, at least, I know she's done a lot of work on this already. Or would you like it to go through committee? I mean, if that's one that is already working on.
I'll work with Mr. Moten to figure out how to approach a policy review for the board.
Along with, and what Ms. Leguizamo is asking is that it be reflective of the Waukegan Police
Yes.
Department policy.
Yes, but the dialogue will start internally, and then we'll figure out how to get that conversation going and bring a policy recommendation back to the board.
Right, and Ms. Vanderbroek, so my only concern is when cross-referencing this policy with the Waukegan Police Department's policies is I'm just not understanding if are those interim or are those long-term. So that's a definite question that I'd like to try to get a definitive answer on.
So noted.
And unless objected to by the board, again, I know it's starting at the staff level, but because some of those conversations, at least unofficially, with the state's attorney and with the chief have already involved me, would anybody be opposed to me coordinating or helping with that?
No, not at all.
Go right ahead. See you on Thursday.
No, thank you.
And I believe, yeah, 6025 policy is not one of the policies that are flagged, to my understanding.
I thought it was.
There are other ones
Or
that
part
are
of it.
similar, right?
There's similar ones, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't believe this one specifically is through the equity committees.
It was not highlighted as one of our initial priority policies, but I will reiterate, every policy will go through the process. You also will see some policies come back that haven't yet gone through the process because we have to get some legal updates in. But then we will, at a later time, in the sequence that has been set out and shared with the board previously, we will do the full equity review on that. We have had some other policies get pulled up at an earlier level, for example, the school fee policy, because we know that is an issue that has to be ready for the handbook. So this is one we'll just pull out of the process.
Definitely, I'd like to push it a lot sooner, right up the ladder. That's what I'm looking at. Yep.
Got the message.
Thank you.
And I would say that is board concurrence unless anyone objects. No. All right, Ms.
Yeah, and I
Hammond.
don't know.
Go ahead with
Yeah.
your new business.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting about cross-sectioning our school policies with the police. I've never heard of that. But anyway, yes, my issue is, and it's been bothersome ever since I have been trying to help a teacher receive funds to do a project, and it kind of piqued my curiosity in terms of the foundation, our Waukegan Schools Foundation. And I would like to see the bylaws of the Waukegan Schools Foundation, because that foundation, it has a specific purpose. And in doing my investigation, if you will, and researching, the foundation funds are only supposed to be used for classroom teachers, and it was never ever intended to go for student scholarships. Now, if the bylaws have changed, that's one thing. But if they have not been changed, then I think that the Waukegan Schools Foundation should look at how they are doing the foundation.
So
And,
I would encourage you, Ms.
and
Hannah,
so-
instead of that being board.
Excuse me?
I said I would encourage you, instead of that being board business, that you reach out to either one of the two board members that sit on the school's foundation and or the president of the school foundation. Is that still Mr. Ben Grimes? Or Mr. Luosa, who is the current finance officer for the foundation, to get those questions answered. But the Waukegan the Waukegan Public Schools Foundation is a separate organization from District 60. So
actually, sir, I found out too that the Waukegan Schools Foundation was put in the school district by the school board.
It's separate. It's its own organization, Ms. Hannah. We looked into this before. It's 100% a separate organization. So again, I don't think that your question shouldn't be answered. What I'm telling you is to reach out to the individuals on the foundation and who represent the foundation in order to get those questions answered. It is not a school district function. We have board members. We have board members who sit on it, and so I would encourage you to reach out to Ben Grimes, contact one of the two board members that currently sit on there, and or Mr. Luosa, who oversees the books for the foundation. And between any of them, I'm sure that they can get your questions answered.
Yeah. Okay, I will. But we put that in. We voted.
You may have voted. And I don't want to get into I don't want to put you on the spot, Ms. Superintendent. Would you be able to clarify, Ms. Polk or Mr. Luosa, or anybody as to?
For the foundation, I mean, I could speak to the foundation.
We are currently working on rewriting
Are you okay with me
our...
calling on you, Mr. Vukovic?
Copy of bylaws if somebody would ever want to see them.
Yeah, I also can just forward that over if that's what Ms. Hannah wants.
Right.
I don't want to take this board time to explain what the foundation does or why we created the scholarship. I believe that, the newspaper might run a story on local scholarships and why we created them. But we also have been talking about bringing the teacher grants back. So if you're in contact with the teacher and they're looking for funding for that project, it is something that we want to bring back. We didn't do it because of the pandemic, but it's, innovation and classroom enhancement is part of the foundation's goals. So, that is a part of the mission. And I don't know if Ms. Wozniak, you want to share?
We are currently working on redoing the bylaws.
That
and,
also.
We're not sure we have the most current version, Ray, so if you could share that with myself and Adriana, that would be great.
Yeah. So again, and my argument is not over what the foundation should be doing, right? I think my argument is that it's its own separate entity from District 60. It should be. So if it's not, it should be, and that it 100% should be, and that's how it's been practiced. Should be
It was created by the previous board, and Mr. Luosa sits on there because he's the treasurer of the school district. That's why he is on there. That's clear in that ordinance.
Yeah. So again, I would say is if that is a paperwork issue for them to resolve, but you guys have your own 501c3 and you should be your own separate entity. Everything that I've trained on, Ms. Hannah, when you talk about ISB and school foundations, has trained me that they are their own entity and they should be. And I believe we looked at this once before, Ms. Vanderbroek.
That was always my understanding, but the foundation's been around a while. I have not looked at all of its founding and underlying documents, so at this time I'm going to reserve any further comment on that.
So I would once again encourage you, Ms. Hannah, to reach out to one of the current board members who sit on that on the foundation, to the current president, Mr. Ben Grimes, and or to Mr. Luosa. And I'm sure between the four of them, you can get your questions answered.
And I appreciate that, and I will do that, Mr. President. But my whole reason for even bringing this up is because we have teachers where they want to do projects in their classrooms, and they could always count on being able to submit to the school's foundation to receive some funds to help them do those projects in their classrooms for the students.
And Ms.
So,
Hannah,
okay, I would,
So again, I think, so is your question that you would like the board? Yeah, so we can bring that back, instead of to belabor the point.
Absolutely.
I think, thank you for presenting it. I think right now, the board concurrence, Ms. Hannah, is that we work to, actually establish the bylaws. So thank you, Mr. Vukovic, for being so good at keeping paperwork. So you have that, and then the current foundation, as I say, between the members that sit on there, as well as it has its own board and its own president, vice president, treasurer, et cetera. That be something that they look into. We can bring that back.
may I ask a quick question on this? Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
This is Ms. Leguizamo. Just to clarify, so those teachers that are looking to get their projects funded, they have already gone through their building ladder of approval, and so they have not received approval of that project or those projects.
Not as far last I talked with them, no, they had not.
Okay, that's how I was just making sure that we're also, because sometimes some teachers are kind of new, and so just making sure that they go through the proper chain of command, and a lot of those projects get approved. And I've even seen some on through like funding pages. I've seen those projects through there as well, and so I'm just checking to see how that was. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Again, we have our legal reports that are listed. Or unless, I'm sorry, Kathy, do you have any other legal reports outside of the FOIA report?
No, I don't have any other legal report, but I will, to Mr. Vukovic's observation that we received many of the same requests. They all came in very close in time as well. So having had something pre-posted wouldn't have solved our problem. But we did note that.
And with that, we are, as I mentioned, we'll have board member time, but we won't move to adjournment. We will recess shortly and then reconvene. Yeah, so we'll go into open session after board member time, but I do want to make that transparent to the public. And again, this is not done to hide anything. One of my biggest pet peeves before I joined the board was that we didn't start meetings on time. One of my pet peeves when I was a board member was that we didn't start meetings on time. And even as board president, I have struggled to get us to start meetings on time. So this is done. We have 2 items that we need to address. And so instead of sitting in closed session and making you all wait, we came up here and we still have work to do. So we will go into closed session and then we will adjourn from the board conference room. Or do I have to come back up, Kathy? Yeah. Gotcha. So with that, I would, we're going to go down the line. Actually, I'll start with you, Ms. Hannah.
Ms. Hannah?
I'm sorry?
Board member time?
Oh, I will wait, seeing how we have to go back into closed session.
All right, Ms. Leguizamo?
Thank you, Board President. Tonight, I just wanted to give a little bit of great news, of course, as our Bulldogs are out there making a name for Waukegan and our programs out there. So big shout out to our JROTC program that competed over the past weekend, and they received 5th place for armed exhibition, 1st place for unarmed exhibition, 1st place for new cadet individual drill regulation, and 3rd place overall for unarmed color guard, unarmed exhibition, and unarmed individual drill regulation. So they brought home a lot of hardware. Congratulations to the team, and I hope we can continue to expound on their leadership program. So thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you. And congrats, Sergeant LTC. Ms. Wozniak?
The Trap Auditorium is having several concerts this weekend, or this week, Wednesday and Thursday, I know for sure. They're free. Everyone's invited to come out to see the Waukegan High School students' concerts. And also, just a reminder, March 15th is the deadline for the Waukegan Schools Foundation scholarship applications.
Thank you, Ms. Wozniak. Mr. Riddle?
Yes, I would just encourage parents. We all know that reading is a building block of knowledge and also for success in school. And you can do something to help. I read an alarming report this past week that 1/3 of students across the nation are now missing reading benchmarks. This is hugely increased because of the pandemic. So parents, we need your help. This is especially prevalent, the reports have shown, in young children. So you can help your child by reading to them every night. Reading a story if they're a young child. If they know how to read, encourage them to read every night, every day. Give them something good to read. That will make immense help for our teachers and for those students in the rest of their lives. So I can't encourage you enough. Please help your students and help your teachers by getting your students good books to read, and if they don't know how to read yet, read to them every night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle. Ms. Gonzalez?
Okay, I have quite a few. I'll try to run through them. First two things I wanted to talk about were the ISB initiatives, the funding that just came out. I think it's really important for our school district. They allocated $4 million for bilingual teachers to earn their professional educator license and continue toward their endorsement. Bilingual teachers are very important to districts. They're in high demand, but a lot of them are temporarily working on a license that they have to discontinue after 5 years. So the money helps them gain that so that they can become permanent teachers. So I hope that the district taps into that for those who still need that to be able to continue teaching their classes. And they also allocated $2 million to research causes of attrition for teachers of color. Teachers of color are really important for our students. Studies have shown that if students look like their teachers, the level of rigor in their classes and their academic success may increase. And I think that is a really solid initiative, using pandemic dollars to talk about how to fill that gap in academic success for our students. The other thing too that I wanted to mention is some community events that I attended this past weekend and yesterday were really, really affirming to the work that we do, even though things are really difficult and it's been difficult for forever. I went over to Three Brothers Theater to see a CLC showcase hosted by or acted out by 3 CLC students, talking about what it means for them to understand their identity in different social contexts. So I felt like that was really affirming to our community because it is complicated, and whether you're Latino, whether you're Black, whether you're whoever you are, ethnicity and race is always something really hard to understand in context in which you may not be able to relate to everybody. And yesterday, Mr. Riddle and I went to Waukegan College, their educator night. Saw some people in the community there, a lot of old friends who are now working for the program, and same thing like TRIO. I saw Ms. Fulton there as well. TRIO, Waukegan College, all these organizations have their place trying to help whatever students they connect to, but you got to meet them halfway. Our staff, our teachers, if we can filter them and just give them the exposure so that they connect with those programs, they may have an increased ability to get to college or choose whatever the path they want to go on. So I appreciated those moments, and yeah, just in general, continue to mask or to get tested, get vaccinated, as we try to navigate this reality right now.
Mm-hmm. We might want to mention too, if I could.
Oh yeah, the open house is coming up.
The open house for Waukegan to College is next Monday at 6 o'clock for middle students, and for high school students at 7:30. So if your child is thinking about going to college and you're not sure how to navigate that, you don't know how to encourage your child, I would, by all means, send them to the Waukegan to College open house. Again, that's Monday, the 14th here. Middle school kids can come at 6 o'clock, high school at 7:30. You'll learn about a program that has success and where students can get tutoring after school. They can go on trips to colleges. So it's another good program in our community, and they're looking to expand. So definitely encourage your student to go and take a look and see what they have, what they can offer. Thank you.
And where's that at?
That's at their Waukegan to College building, which is right next to Christ Church on Grand and Martin Luther King. And it's the building just to the west side of the school, of the church, Christ Church.
So with that, I have just a couple things. During board member time, I do want to say I went to a few community events, but one that I want to highlight is the We Got It Now Community Summit, Transforming Our Community in Education, which was put on by Miss Wygina Briscoe at Park Place. So there were tons of individuals who came. I do want to, I guess, say thank you to two individuals, Ms. Fields as well as our previous Dr. Brown, who was there, and they did a state of African American students for the nation. And again, it was sobering. Brother McIntyre asked us almost 2 years ago if it was a crisis, and unfortunately is nowhere has the numbers increased since we all, to a person, said that it was a crisis. And so as we continue to see issues like this pop up, this is why there's the urgency from the community, is because we are losing a generation of students, and primarily, as Mr. Riddles pointed out, it's not just black kids. But unfortunately, black kids are the largest demographic that's impacted. And so that is not new. That is not my opinion. That is what the facts state in black and white. I also want to commend our own Ms. Fulton, who just released a book. And so we have some amazing, talented individuals. She was also at that summit, and that was a great way for the community to connect. I also know that sometimes we have things that may come out that appear to be negative. And one was the breakfast for our students. Again, I think internet and social media is crazy in that negative things can travel fast, and sometimes we have parts of the stories but not the whole story. But what I want to recommend or recognize and commend is that within 20 minutes of a post in which I said that we would do a redo, we had over 68 community members that reached out who wanted to help. And so when people say that our community doesn't care about the schools or doesn't care about the kids, I promise you is that those events, those social media interactions, the amount of people who raise their hand and say we want to help, is the community is there. We have to make sure that we are welcoming to the support, and I don't want to miss what Mr. McIntyre said from that podium, is if we have a school that is in crisis and you have individuals that are not reaching out and we're not connecting with the community, and they're saying we want to help, we want to help, and the district is saying we need to help, we need to help, we need to help. How do we get these two entities to talk and work together? Is because obviously there seems to be a breakdown in the communication that is happening. So I do want to state is that I'm appreciative of all of those who volunteered. Thank you to Ms. Patty, Ms. Fabian, Ms. Fulton, and I think Ms. Barbara and Ms. Pisano and some of the parents. And so they met and they are in the process of planning the redo, as well as some other events, is because we want to make sure that we aren't just, I know this year has been full of negatives, and when we talk about the schools being out of control and things happening at the high school, I don't say that those things are untrue, but I will say is that they're not the totality of the story. Is we have hundreds of students that show up every day, that do what they're supposed to do, and that are succeeding despite everything that is going on. And so I want to make sure that all students feel safe when they come to school, but that we are celebrating our students' achievements and the good things that they are doing, is because many of our students are making the right decisions and are doing what is expected. So with that, I would like a motion to go into closed session under exception 10. C2,
moved.
collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second.
Stand in recess.
Motion for, I can't, I gotta go into closed session directly, right? Yes. And then again, once everybody is reconvened, we can shut the door and start the meeting, but I do want to take the vote here publicly. So I got a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Ms. Callahan Wozniak?
Yes.
Mr. McBride? Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Leguizamo?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes. All right, we are now in closed session.